Welcome to the greater in me. I can't do it seriously.
Podcast. Welcome to the Greater in Me podcast. Welcome to the Greater in Me podcast. Yeah, it's your
Welcome.
boy. It's your girl, JT
Mhm.
TJ. JT. TJ.
So
JT. Hey,
unserious.
what? Mm, mm,
For those who don't know, the J stands for Joshua and the T stands for Tara.
Tara.
Welcome.
Woohoo!
Why did?
Whoa.
Hello?
Users malfunction. Users error.
Definitely unplugged my ring light. So I didn't realize how dark it was without it on. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
What's up though? How you feeling today?
Um, I'm feeling. I'm feeling. I don't know. Not
Okay.
much has really happened today, so I'm just
Same.
here.
I honestly I've been here all day. Um Chilling. Classes were canceled
That's the best feeling in the world.
in the world.
That is the best feeling.
What? I said, yeah, I'm finna take this day, sleep in. That's when I texted you or 2 or 3. I was like, okay, because
Did
that's
you
gonna
want me to
determine.
say 2:30?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, but in all honesty, I didn't care. I just was like, whenever she said, that's how I know when I need to get up, because I knew we
you
were gonna record
you know what
regardless.
the mistake is the fact that like I was like, well, we said 2:30, but it seems like you want to do 2 now. So like I'll just say 2. But in reality, you wanted me to say 2:30.
No, it doesn't. It didn't matter.
That's funny.
That works. Oh, bet my group said they want to meet on FaceTime. Perfect. Okay. Um. Yeah, guys, welcome back to the Greater Me podcast, where we just talk about growing into your authentic self, being in this world but not being of it, being called to something greater, serving people, being a kind person, but what that looks like as a young adult person, as someone who's navigating new life that's ahead of us that we have no idea what's coming, but we're still here, just trying our best. So,
Yeah.
yeah, welcome to the Greater in Me podcast. I have some questions, of course, if you don't know. We always start with a few questions. Um, what's the last thing you learned about yourself that surprised you?
Whoa. What is the last thing I learned about myself that surprised me? You might have to go first because that's like a thinker.
Um, I'll say that I'll say that the things that I said that I wanted, I wasn't fully prepared to have them, or my mindset was still like my mindset still wanted those things, but it was still kind of stuck in a toxic way of like you're not really ready because you're still kind of clinging on or to what used to be or what could have been or like what some thrill would have had.
Yeah.
Even though that you know that you want something else or you know that you want this other thing or something better, but I was still stuck to like old ways, just because of the fun of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. That's so deep.
Yeah, I
Um,
wasn't ready.
yeah, I was not ready for any of that actually. But that's amazing. That's very introspective of you. Um, I would say that something that I learned about myself recently is that I guess I kind of knew this or started to learn this about myself a little like last school year.
Hmm.
But I think just like after my most recent trip and then coming back and like really just having no one around me for real, I just learn more and more like how much I draw from people, like how much I truly like feed off of people's energy, like how much people inspire me. But I think that like it's also making me realize more just like the beauty of like genuine connection and relationship and like how much of a difference it can truly make in somebody's life. Like I think it's one thing to hear it, but like to actually feel it and like know it and live it is like a completely
Yeah,
different thing. And it's like people carry so much and I think that we underestimate how much is truly in us and like the differences we make in other people's lives just by like being there and being present.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that that's something new that I've learned about myself.
Just like staying true to the moment and like making sure that you're like taking it all in.
Yeah.
How does that affect you now? Or like what? I don't know. Like how does that translate to like now? Now that you're alone, like what could you do?
Um, that's a fantastic question. I think it's teaching me a few things. Like one, to like not take the time I have with the people around me, like whenever that is, like not to take it for granted. But then also, I think I actually said this exact thing last episode, but to also then find new ways to like draw inspiration from myself, but also to like learn to draw or like lean more on God too. Um, cause like I'm not always gonna be around my most loved, most treasured people all the time. Like there are seasons where it really will just be like me and God and like learning to accept that more and like lean into that more and like embrace that more.
Yeah,
Um yeah. I think no matter what though, I will always be the person who like thrives around like good community and like good connection and good company. Cuz we're not meant to do this like life thing alone. So,
not at all. Actually, not at all. Okay, how would you describe true love?
um sacrifice, like sacrifice and then also just like being present and being selfless. But also being selfless like requires sacrifice. So like I think those are like the biggest things. Um
I was gonna say selfless and unconditional
mhm.
because I think in spite of like how you may feel, if you love, if you're going to show love for someone or to someone, I also think it's an action. You can't say one thing and do another. Um, it has to match. Like it has to agree with one another. Your actions have to go hand in hand with your feelings, which can be difficult as we know. But like to love someone means that like you do anything.
Mhm.
And like even on your worst day, you're still giving your 100% of your 10%. You know, um, I think. How do you think that love? Uh, do you think that love is just, is just? Do you think sometimes it's just like a? I don't know how to say it. Like I think sometimes people just like use it frivolously and don't actually like understand the weight. Like I say I love you too to a lot of people, but like
Mhm.
genuinely because I do. Like I just is like have a good day, guys. Like it's love. Like, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of the times people say it and they're just like, that's not. You're not telling the truth because you are not matching that up with anything you're saying.
Yeah. I think it still like ties back to what people define love as or like what they feel like love looks like or maybe even like what it's looked like for them in the past because the truth is like love is also something that is supposed to be exemplified and then we, follow.
Right.
Um, but depending on like how you were raised, depending on the type of people around you, like how people have shown you love, definitely spills into how you then love others. So I think a lot of times, well, on one hand, I do think people like throw around the word love a lot. And like a lot of times people like truly don't know what it means. So they're using it in the capacity at which like they understand. So they actually do feel like they love somebody, but their actions speak otherwise. But then I don't know. I think too, when I think back at like my past like relationships or friendships and stuff, I've always told my friends that I love them like in different seasons of life. But then I think that love also started to look so different to me like as time went on. And then it's like I don't know if you've ever had this, but I specifically remembered like all of my friendships leading up until like freshman year of college when I met one of my like best friends at the time, like had felt like, oh my gosh, like I love this person or like they love me like how I want to be loved, whatever. But then I became friends with this girl and like genuinely she just like had so much love in her heart and it just like it felt so different than any other relationship I had had in the past. And then it really did make me question whether, like, oh, like, did I actually, like, was I actually loved in my other relationships or like my other friendships? Like, is this actually what love looks like? Is this how it's supposed to feel? Because like her friendship like made me I don't know, like it was just her presence. Like she just like exuded so much love and so much good energy. And it honestly inspired me to like love people a lot more through action versus like just saying I love you and just like doing whatever. Like I don't know. There's just certain relationships that truly like they embody love and like light and good energy and it inspires you to love differently and like to show up for people in a different way. But I feel
Yeah.
like honestly after being friends with her she taught me so much about just like I don't know maybe just like loving people the way I wish to be loved or um just being a lot more affectionate or like a lot more like action driven with my love versus just like saying it.
Makes sense. Let me say
Have you
that's
ever
really
had
good.
like a friendship or a relationship that just like made you see love completely differently than you did before?
Yes. But kind of in an opposite manner.
Mm,
Because I find that myself this is also a problem that I have just with myself. But neither here or there. It's just not reciprocated the same way. Or people like I said, like they'll say one thing and do another or do one thing and say another.
mm,
And I also find that sometimes people just show love differently, right? Um, I when I realized that just having good friends, so like you said, like coming to college and just like meeting actually like real people sometimes, even like my real like friends from home, like my brothers and sisters, like we just have an understanding with one another. Like I just we don't have to do too much. We don't try too hard. Like sort of like our relationship too. Like I like understand them even when they're not speaking. Like I can see through them and like they can see through me and like I there's nothing I have to do too much of. And I just feel like that's love because like they're here for me when I need them. I can pick up the phone and call them,
mm,
um, and vice versa. Whereas like in relationships where I thought that like I had a close friend or like that I love someone or that they love me, it just was always so
one
like
sided.
yeah, one sided and just conditional. Like, oh, I did this for you, or like people who are you know, type of person who always like brings something up that they did for you, or
Mm,
I did this, can you do this, or da 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 da. I remember when I did this. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
um, I don't know. I just don't like feeling like I'm a burden to someone. So it's just like that is not what love is at all. I don't think, but
Mm,
yeah, like people have opened my eyes to just realize that like what real love can be and how it is shown to people.
yeah.
And that it doesn't, it's something that's truly from the heart. Like it's something that your soul wants to produce to other people. And you're not looking for anything in return.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've experienced a little something like that.
I
Um,
think also, to go back to the example I just gave, something I just realized too is obviously we all like show and receive love differently, hence like different love languages and things like that. And I think with that friendship specifically, what it was is she was like, I don't know. I think I just had experienced love through a different love language, but that was the way that I wanted to receive love, but I didn't know until I experienced it. So there was like actual like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like when someone shows like, cuz we all receive love differently, or like we all want to be loved in different ways. So it's like when someone actually speaks your love language, it hits so much more different than people who've, yeah, they have loved you, or like, yeah, there's love there, but maybe they're not necessarily like speaking your language for real. And I think that she was someone who spoke my love language, and I was like, oh, like this is how I want to be loved. And I
yeah,
had never like fully experienced that before.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like people can teach you things about yourself that you never even knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's actually really beautiful though, because like that's like the experience of life. Like you don't know you want something or you need something or the way you want to be treated until someone doesn't. You're like, whoa, hold
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
Like, so you mean to tell me this person could have been doing this the whole time,
Yeah.
but not even saying this? Some people, not even to shun them. English and speaks clearly, Joshua. Some people just are not capable of doing it at that time. Um, oh, that's really beautiful. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
Do you think that like that transfers over into your other relationships now, or like has it?
Definitely.
Yeah,
Like like I said, I feel like I never knew I was missing anything from other relationships, but then when you are able to recognize something completely different, or you start to feel differently, and you're like, "Whoa, like I didn't realize this huge chunk of like what I actually wanted from people was like missing." It then like made me one just like a lot more aware of what I want from friendships and like how I want to be loved, cuz people always say like relationships will teach you lessons, and like even if they don't last a lifetime, cuz honestly we're not even friends at this point. We're not enemies, but like we just fell
grew
out
apart.
of like touch, and that's fine. But from that friendship, it was just like I now recognize how I want to be loved. And
Yeah.
then also just recognizing too like the way that I want to show up for people, because the way that she would make me feel on a daily basis, like she would make me feel so special, that like I know that I actively try now to like make the people in my life feel that type of love or feel special. Um so yeah, it definitely did affect the way that I like show up for others, but also like kind of like expectations or what I look for in friendships and relationships with people.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice. One more or two, maybe. If you had to swap bodies with anyone, who would it be and why?
Um, I'm gonna say Lori Harvey. And that's because her body's banging. Like, I don't know.
He does a lot.
Yeah, she does a lot. Like, she just has a nice body. But I don't know. That's a really weird question. I guess, okay, I want to answer twofold. Like, for physique wise, like her, because, like, she has a nice body. But I guess, like, if I just wanted to, like, step into someone else's shoes and, like, live their life for a day just to see how it is,
That's what I thought.
um, hmm, maybe, like, Michelle Obama. Just because, like, I don't know. I just would love to see what her day to day looks like, get into her mind, get into, like, I don't know what the lifestyle is like. I don't know if that's my actual answer for real. It's just the only person I can think of right now. But yeah.
That's how I perceive the question. I would say, for some reason, uh, I would say Terrence J. Howard. For some reason, he has just been like I just been seeing him more recently, and
You
he's
know
just
what's so
so.
bad? I gotta look up who that is so I have a
You know
person
who
in my mind.
you know who that is when you see him, but he's just so successful. But also like he's lit. He seems real like humble. He just got engaged. Um, he's just like chasing his bag, and I feel like he's doing it the right way. Like he's staying connected to his passions. I feel
Oh, I
like,
do know him.
yeah, and
I
he
know
just seems
faces,
like
not
a
names.
he just seems like a real down to earth person, but like really cool and genuine. Um, I would just want to see like what he does because like he does a lot, but like he's so humble and like low key about it until like he
Hmm.
pops out.
Love that.
He just seems like he just lives such a rich and exclusive life. Like he be checking
Oh
out
my
the
gosh,
NBA.
I lied. I want to
Who?
step into Issa Rae's body.
Oh, for sure.
Final answer. Love her bad.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, he just got engaged. Let me see if I can find it to somebody else. I could say 1,000 people.
Right. Like if you
Uh,
actually think about it.
yeah, I could say a lot of people. Um, it's just Elba.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah, just to like get his perspective on things, see what he sees, see
Yeah.
how people treat him. But you know what I want to do it?
I'm sure
I
people
would
treat
want
him great.
I would want to do it prior to
Ooh,
like
the
young
fame.
yeah, like young Idris, like working, but like still, fighting for his way, like,
Okay.
and then kind of see how people like then versus now type thing, because I think that'd probably be interesting, and like I would have an accent, like that would just go crazy.
No, that one's good.
That would go crazy. Um, why'd you say Lori Harvey as her body?
She just has an insane body. I feel like she's also been everywhere recently. So I was just like
Not for
I thought about it superficially at first and then I was like, I don't want to be her for real though. So then I had to double back real quick.
not for she ain't been everywhere recently for all good reasons though.
Right. But she's just
But she does a lot for her body. She works
she
a
does.
lot. She does a lot of fast. Some of them are not healthy, but hey,
Oh, I didn't even know all that. I just know
yeah.
she's in Pilates for real.
But comparison, you never know until you don't know.
Yup. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Go
Thoughts on
ahead.
comparison. When you hear comparison, what comes to your mind?
Truthfully, like just anxiety, or it's just
Hmm.
like taken away from joy. Like
Yeah.
that's biblical,
Yeah. That is. That's
or
good.
like judgment or competition. Um, yeah, that's what I think of in multiple
Yeah.
realms. But like, yeah. What about you?
I feel like judgment. Like, I feel like judgment, but also just not being content for real. Um, Social media, just because I feel like that makes it really easy for us to compare. Um, but anxiety is really good. I think also depression. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think comparison can honestly spiral into an abyss. Like, you can just go down a rabbit hole and never feel enough,
No, for sure.
unfortunately. Um, and it's really sad to be honest. But I feel like lately I've been thinking of comparison, I guess deeper, but not even deeper, just like in from a different perspective. Whereas like typically I feel like when we think of comparison, we think of us comparing ourselves to other people. But maybe just because of the season I'm in, and we're like wrapping up the year, about to enter a new year. I've just been thinking of comparison in the sense of like even comparing yourself to your old self. Because I think the thing with like growing and also just transitioning with seasons of life is we talked about it last episode, but there are points where you almost grieve like yourself in the sense of like you're grieving your old self, you're grieving old seasons where you have to move on because in order to grow, you do need to move on. But I feel like I've just been doing a lot of reflecting, but we say all the time comparison is the thief of joy, but I think even, yeah, comparing old seasons in the sense of like, I used to be so happy, or like, I
Yeah,
used to be here. Like, a big thing for me has been the fact that like I'm home now, and like I feel like my mind has just been dwelling so much on the fact that like I'm not where I used to be physically, in the sense of like I'm not with my friends right now, or like I'm at home, I'm not at school. Um I used to have a job, I don't have a job. Like just stuck in like a place of comparing where I am now to where I used to be. But I feel like the Lord has just been like convicting me of that, in the sense of like, but what about what you have right now?
right.
Um I'm just learning to try to be more content in, how I am growing, like how I am transitioning in terms of like my mindset, and just holding on to the fact that like I am where I am right now in order to get to where I need to be and like where I want to be. Um and yeah, I just feel like a lot of times we don't even think about comparison in that way, where we do want to like hold on to our past selves, or like go back in time to where we feel like we were happier, or like, and I don't know how beneficial that is for us to actually be able to grow and move on. We do it a lot with our relationships too, where like we'll hold on to people just because of the memories we've had in the past, or like the happy moments we had with them, instead of recognizing like maybe where they're at right now, or maybe what you need for right now. Um, and I think a lot of times it really does get us tripped up and being able to like think bigger than what we used to have. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
thoughts.
point. Um, that's a good point. How do you feel that like? Do you think that like it's helping now that you've like acknowledged this space that like you're being more appreciative of the space you're in now, or like what you do have, or like what the possibility even is to come out of the place that you're in now? You know.
So when I say that I just discovered this, or I just started thinking about this differently, I mean like that happened yesterday.
Awesome.
But I think it happened for a reason, right? Like I think
Awesome.
that walking into this new year, like I said, I do want to be a lot more intentional, but I think it just did like put me back in a place of like checking me, and recognizing that like it's cool that you had so much fun in a past season. Like it's cool that you recognize that you want to be around people, and like you love like being around your friends and like being around good company. Like it's cool to recognize those things, and I think that there are a lot of lessons that you learn from the past, and like from your past relationships, from your past self. But it's like also letting that go, and like learning to embrace your present moment, and learning to like look forward to what is to come, and recognizing that there is a greater purpose and a greater good, and like where you are right now. And we hear all the time like nothing happens by accident, everything happens for a reason. So also where I'm placed right now is intentional. Like we serve a very intentional God, so also just not doubting that. um but yeah, it's a new revelation. It's new. So I think I'm human, right? So I'm always gonna, I think it's kind of in our nature to want to compare ourselves, whether it's to other people or like to our past selves or whatever. But like being aware of the fact that I'm doing it, and then being intentional about just like always leaning back on gratitude, and recognizing and telling myself like the things that I do need to hear to get myself out of the rut,
Yeah,
or like the habit of like comparing.
that's good. I can agree because I feel like a lot of the times, for me, the comparison just looks like what other people have,
Mm-hmm.
and what I don't, or like, and like I don't want people to think that like I'm not talking about like material things. I'm talking about like in life, or like sometimes when I think I should be at a certain place in life, or I should have this, or I should have gotten this opportunity, stuff like that. I'm like, dang, like they're getting all of this. It's not to say that they don't have struggles, you know? But it's just like, dang, like, what am I doing wrong? Or like, what can I do to like help myself better? Because a lot of times I feel like I am doing a lot and I'm trying my hardest, but it's like, is it in vain? Like, what's happening? And then you look up and it's like, not to say that they don't are not doing the same amount of work as you, but it appears as such thing, and it's just like, dang, how did they get this, or like, how did they do all of that? Um, yeah, I don't know. It is literally the thief of joy though sometimes because a lot of the times people will think the same thing about you and are just trying to one up themselves or you to make themselves look better. And the thing that I'm like stressing over, like becoming jealous over, is
Mhm.
not even bringing them joy or happiness.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I also feel like when you start to compare things, it's just you just never know the full story on either side except for your story.
Yeah.
So it's just like it just becomes like this long road of assumptions
Yeah.
that we just start to make and like drive ourselves crazy with because we're trying to like figure this thing out of why it's them and not us, or why it's looks this way versus what we think it could look like, or what we used to have, or what we used to know something as, um, which can honestly be difficult. My friends and I from home always talk about that. Not always, but like we'll sometimes talk about like high school and how things look differently. Um, and like my friend Deja one day, she was just like, "I don't want to talk about that. Like
Yeah.
that's not life no more. Like there's no reason for us to be like talking about that no more."
Yeah.
We weren't really, mind you, we weren't really talking about high school. We were talking about the communion of having each other,
Mhm.
and what that would be like if we were in college. But she was just like, "That's not life. Like that." She was basically like, "Child, we is not there no more.
Mhm.
Y'all, like y'all need to get it together." Like, not saying that we still don't have each other, but she was just like, honestly, like that's just life. Like it played out like this, and we just have to experience it how it is now.
Yeah.
Um, and I respect that because it's just like it's just true, and it's just like, yeah, we wish we were together, we wish we had this, that, and the third, or we're only so many miles apart from each other, in college, but that's not what God had in mind, you know?
Yeah. And I genuinely just think that that's where I'm at, where it's like, it's cool that you had a great past season, but like that is
Right?
not where you are right now. And I think honestly, the root of it is just contentment and like gratitude, like, but also faith, like holding on to the faith that like you're not going to stay here forever and like things will get better. But then also just learning to be grateful for the things that you have now and like the person that you are now, and always trying to hold on to the light and the good because the situation could be a lot worse. um but yeah, I feel like that's it. Like that's
Yeah,
the reality, so move on respectfully.
exactly, exactly. Because what we don't realize is that we like bog our minds down so much, and it's so much wasted time in that, and just like thinking
Mhm.
about what life used to be or like what it
Mhm.
could be. It's just like,
Mhm.
great, acknowledge it, move on, or if it could be something greater, then acknowledge that and see what you can start doing right now, today, in the second, in this moment, tomorrow, to make that dream a reality. You know,
Yeah.
instead of just only thinking about it. Like, don't just talk about it, but be about it. Like, be it. You know, we gotta put the work forward.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think that's the thing too, is it's like reflection is definitely a beautiful thing and it's necessary, right? Because if you were to never reflect on things that you learned from your past, I think that that would also be like a mistake. I think it's important to like process and reflect the things you go through as you're going through them, but not to stay there, not to dwell on it. Because when you are able to take away the lessons or take away the good from past seasons, then you're able to carry them forward to the current seasons. But when you're stuck in a place of just like dwelling on it, then that's when it messes with your mind and you start to long for things that are no longer, you know?
yeah.
Um, but yeah.
What else? Wait, because I want to look up a scripture for that
You
Because
know what scripture it did make me think of, but I like didn't want to say because I never want to like misquote. But you know, what was it? Lot's wife, she looked back and she turned into a pillar of salt. And I feel like that story is testament just to the fact that like just don't look back. Look forward. Like what's in the past is in the past. Like you simply cannot get it back.
the
Um
past is in the past. Um, that evening, the two angels came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. Lot was sitting there, and when he saw them, he stood up to meet them. Then he welcomed them and bowed with his face to the ground. My lords, I've said, come to my home to wash your feet and my guests and be my guest for the night. This is crazy. I'm moving ahead. Lot prepared a feast for them, complete with fresh bread made without yeast, and they ate. But before they retired for the night, all the men of Sodom, young and old, came from all over the city and surrounded the house. They shouted to Lot, "Where are the men who came to spend the night with you? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them." Crazy. So Lot stepped outside to talk to them, shutting the door behind him. "Please, my brothers," he begged, "don't do such a wicked thing. Look, I have two virgin daughters. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them as you wish." Crazy. But please leave them as men alone. But please leave these men alone, for they are my guests and are under my protection. Um, hold on, I'm trying to find the part because I know it's in this. Okay, here we go. Lot reached the village just as the sun was rising over the horizon. Then the Lord rained down fire and burning sulfur from the sky of Sodom and Gomorrah,
Mhm.
whatever. He utterly destroyed them, along with the other cities and villages of the plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind him, and she turned into a pillar of salt. That is actually crazy.
Yeah. And I think it speaks to the fact that, like, obviously all they ever knew was being destroyed. And I
Right.
think that, like, in
Right.
your head, right, it's like
Right.
when the past season is all you've ever known, it can be really hard to let it go because it looks like you're losing everything.
And it was a reality at one point. Like we that
Right.
was that was a normal life.
Right. And it's like, I think human nature is to want to hold on to that because you're scared of like the unknown, right? You're scared of what is to come. You don't know what it's going to look like. And like you said, it was reality. It was all you ever knew. So I think it's in our nature to want to look back, to want to hold on to that. But I think the lesson there is it's just like what's behind you is what's behind you. Like
Yeah.
it's also like it's gone. Like you can never get it back. Like there it was physically being destroyed. So what good is it to look back? Like what good is
Yeah.
it to try and hold on to something that is no longer move forward? Um but it's
Literally.
hard. It's hard. And our mind loves to play tricks on us and loves to just roam and wander. But I think we do ourselves a disservice when we entertain the thoughts of like longing for the past or dwelling on the past.
Yeah. Just gotta move forward. All things new, and I will follow you forward. But that's a true statement because what are the rest of the lyrics to that song? That's that is so good, Tara. That's biblical because if we're trusting and believing that God, He said He makes all things new. So regardless of what is that, looking back is old. What we
Mm-hmm.
can't that we can't look back there. That those crops have expired. Those crops, that vegetation is old, burned down.
Mm-hmm.
Look forward. He's making a new thing right in front of your face. But because we're so stuck on the past and what could have been, what used to be,
Mm-hmm.
we're not producing new fruits. There's no new labor. There's no.
And we're
There's just
always
no.
so convinced as to what we're losing is so much greater than what we're gonna gain. Like we
Wow.
always think that like what's behind
Wow.
us just had was full of so much fruit and so much goodness, and what is coming could not possibly
Right.
be as good or greater.
Right.
But it's like greater is always ahead.
Right.
So why do we do that?
who knows, man? I mean, that's just the ways of life. I don't think we can't help it. You know, like that
Yeah.
might just be like the human part, or it could be the flesh. But I guess we should just work harder to decrease that part of us. But I mean, that's just how it is. And sometimes we can't always understand God's plan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, if we're trusting and believing that is something greater ahead,
Mm-hmm.
then we got to know that it was just a lesson, and we just got to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think too when we just don't think things happen fast enough, or when we think that they should happen because
Yeah.
we think that we're ready for them. Um, all the while, we don't be ready.
I
Like I
think
mentioned. Go ahead.
sometimes too, it also comes down to like having a limited mindset or like a limited perspective, because like obviously the past is all our minds have to reference, and like all we have, like we already experienced it, like we've already seen it, we've felt it already. But because we haven't experienced the future, or we haven't felt it, we haven't, like, we don't know what it's going to look like, our minds very easily reach for what already happened.
Yeah,
um but yeah, I think that is why it has to be like a habit and a practice to honestly just try and focus on what is currently happening. Like, don't even try to think too far ahead, and definitely don't think too far back, but just try and like focus on what you got going on right in front of you.
yeah. Like take the lesson, learn from it, and keep pushing.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up every day and choose to like just choose to be better. Like choose to be a better version of yourself every single day, regardless of what you think should be happening for you.
Right.
Um, but keep working for that thing. Like don't give up just because you think that it should happen by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what? And when it does happen, it'll be bigger and better than
Yeah.
anything you could ever imagine. Just because that's how big God is. Like, um, yeah, I like that. That was good. That was good. Any other questions?
Nah, that was it. That was what was on my heart. So
Speak to my heart, Lord. I could body song association. Like Terrell, hit me up. Like the thing is, I was talking to Eddie yesterday, and because we was watching it in sentences, and I was like, "Who was we watching? We was watching Leon Thomas," and I was just like, "You
that's a
just
good
know how
man,
like
Savannah.
some things you just like you know it's gonna happen. You just don't
Hmm.
know when, how, what. That is one thing I know is gonna happen. Like I'm gonna be on that blue wall, and like I'm gonna eat it up. I'm going to eat it
Manifest.
up. I'm going to eat that up. Like people always say it's harder when you get up there and actually like the pressure is on. But
No, I know. I know that you will eat it up because your whole life is song association.
like
Your
I
whole life has
just
been preparation for that moment. So when it comes,
okay.
you'll be ready. And on that note, what's one thing greater in you, Joshua?
The spirit of songs, melody, harmony, the psalms, if you will.
Spoken like David.
Okay. Yeah, I was just. You're right. I always have a melody on my mind.
Hmm.
Um, always, and sometimes it's my only form of happiness. If I'm being quite honest, um, I'm learning how to shut up sometimes, but other times I don't forsake that because people don't know what you be going through. Um, and sometimes me doing that is just brings my soul peace. So
It's just you.
I
I feel
think
like you would not be you if you didn't burst out in song. I'm sorry.
oh, one thing I wish was greater in me was uh, love and happiness. I just always think anybody I could be happier
Mm.
anytime. Um, and my posture on love too. I just want to make sure I'm always just giving love because I solely just want to be a loving person. Um, so yeah, those
Love
my big
that.
two.
You know what I just realized?
But
God answers prayers. Because last episode, I said I wanted gratitude to be greater in me. And I feel like the lesson that I learned literally just in this week helped me to be more grateful for what I got going
Okay.
on now. Wow.
Okay. Okay.
Wow. A round of
Okay.
applause for the Lord.
Okay.
um
He'll
okay,
work if
cool.
you let
Love
him.
that.
He'll work if you.
Um one thing greater in me.
One thing you wish was greater in you.
Oh.
I thought you were saying the gratitude was one thing that's greater in
Okay,
you.
yeah, that can be my one thing greater in me, sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um my one thing I wish were greater in me, still contentment, like, and still faith. Like, I think that I still could be a lot more content with what I got going on right now. And, my faith I wish was a little stronger for like the things to come, but it's coming and it's there. So I'm just trying to hold on to it for real.
Awesome. Love that. Keep praying, keep fighting, because eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard what's in store for you. Okay.
Amen.
Thank you guys for watching us, listening to us. If you're listening on the audio, if you're watching us on YouTube, hey, thanks for watching.
Hey.
Tell a friend. Don't forget to share, guys. Guys, share. Because what? Thank you.
No, but actually, like,
Like, I'm so for real. Right.
subscribe, like, do all the things, please.
Like,
Please.
support. Thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching us. We love you. Keep fighting for that thing. Don't look back too much, but look ahead and know that God is still ordering your steps. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.